Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well. We're going to continue on in our transformations chapter today, and we're going to talk about rotations. And rotations are exactly what you would think of as a rotation. It is a turn around a fixed point called the center of rotation. And in everything that we do today, our center of rotation is going to be the origin. So you're not going to really see a whole lot of variation from that. The figure always rotates at a specific angle. For us, it's going to be 90, 180, or 270, and in a specific direction. Most of what we do today is going to be counterclockwise. I'm going to throw in a couple details about if it were clockwise, but that's mostly just in case you see that on IXL. I've looked through it. I haven't seen that they ask you for anything clockwise, but I also can't see all the possible questions that they could ask you like I would if we were on MathXL. So, and that being said, you guys did a great job with IXL last week, so keep up the good work. All right, so I love this section because it has this nice little table for you guys, and I added in a couple things. Few details, all of these rules are for counterclockwise motions. However, I wrote down, what it would be equated to if it were clockwise. And they each have their own specific rule. And so what's different about rotations is that you have to find the points first before you can graph it. So you have to follow the rules for a certain type of point, and then you can plot your new points for your image. So if it's a 90-degree counterclockwise rotation, what we do is we flip-flop our x and y from our original point, and we make the first number negative, or you could think of it as if it were already negative, it becomes positive. You're just going to change the sign to be the opposite on the first coordinate. For 180 degrees, that is the same as, 180 degrees counterclockwise is the same as 180 degrees clockwise. Okay, they are the same thing, the same movement in either direction. And I didn't mention it, but 90 degrees counterclockwise is the same as 270 degrees clockwise. Okay, and I have that in your chart. But if we're dealing with a 180 degrees rotation, it could either be counterclockwise or clockwise, it doesn't matter. And we're always going to leave our x and y in the same order, but we're going to change the signs on both of them. So it says that they both become negative, but again, if they were already negative, they would become positive. And then a 270-degree rotation counterclockwise is the same as a 90-degree clockwise rotation. And all you do is you flip-flop your x and y just like we did with 90 degrees, but this time the second number is the one that changes signs. Okay, I know that I went through that really quickly. I'm trying to cut down on some of these notes today so that they're not quite as long in the video. So we're going to do some of this together, and then some of it I'm going to just fill out and post in Schoology for you. So we're going to do the first 6 together. And I actually have already gone through this once and I messed something up. And so I stopped and fixed it. So I see that I left some of this stuff in here. So let me get rid of that and we'll talk through these first 6 together. So looking at this first problem, we are doing a 90 degrees counterclockwise rotation, which means that it's following this rule in red that I already have written down. Okay, so we're going to do this rule with that. And I already have the original image graphed, or the pre-image is what we've been calling that. Okay, so what I have to do before I can even find the new image is I have to change all the points. And so I'm going to start with A. And A is the point 2, 7. And I am going to flip-flop my x and y. So I'm going to do that first. So I flip-flop those two numbers. And then that first number has to change signs. So the 7 needs to change signs. Since it's positive, it's going to become negative. And so that is my new point for A prime. Okay, so it really is that simple. It's really not terrible to do this. And they're all going to work very similar to each other. So B is the 0.65. So I flip-flop x and y, so it becomes 5, 6. And then that first number has to become negative or change signs. In this case, it will just be negative. And then for C, we have the 0.41. Flip-flop x and y, so it becomes 1, 4. and then that first number becomes negative, or changes sign. Okay, so now I'm just going to plot those points. I'm going to actually pause it while I do that real quick. Alright, so there is my new image. I actually think I might start pausing it while I draw the image. It just saves a little bit of time. Okay, so next one, 180 degrees. Notice it doesn't tell us what direction. It doesn't say counterclockwise or clockwise, and that's because of what I said earlier about they are the same regardless. Okay, so a lot of times you're not going to see a direction because it doesn't matter with 180 degrees. Now for this one, we are not flip-flopping X and Y. They actually stay in the same position. We're just going to change all the signs to be the opposite. So P was 2, 6, so this is still going to be 2, 6, but now we change the sign so it becomes -2, -6. And actually all of these were positive, so they're all going to stay in the same order, but they're just going to have negatives on them now. So Q started out as 6, 5. We're going to leave it in the same order, but we're going to make them negative because we have to change the sign. Same thing with R. It was 5, 1, so now it becomes -5, -1, and S was 1, 2, so it becomes -1, -2. I'm going to pause and draw that real quick. Alright, so there is my new picture, my new image. Okay, so last type, and then everything else after this will be a repeat, is the 270 degree counterclockwise. So for this one, this rule looks a lot like the 90-degree rule. We are going to flip-flop X and Y, but this time the second number, or the X number, becomes negative, or it changes signs. So, same deal. I'm going to go ahead and write these down. I'm going to flip-flop X and Y. So for J prime, I'm going to flip-flop the 3 and the 4, and it becomes 4, 3. And again, the second number is the one that changes signs. So because it's a +3, now it's going to become negative. For K, it's 6, 4 originally, so it becomes 4, 6. And the second number needs to change signs, so that becomes a -6. L is 8, 1, so I flip-flop that. It becomes 1, 8. Second number changes signs. It becomes negative. And then M is 1, 1, so even when I flip it, it's still going to be 1, 1, but that negative has to go on the second one. Alright, so let me graph this. Okay, so we have that graphed, and a couple of things I just want to point out before we start repeating is that, as you guys will notice, unlike translations where we just slid this to another place on our graph, these do change the way that they're sitting. So when we rotate it, it's not just that it's going to be sitting in the same position as it did originally in a different place. It's totally, the figure itself is also getting rotated. So that's what makes these so tricky. That's why I only do about the origin so that you have rules, because otherwise it's really hard to predict what the figure itself is going to look like. So hopefully being able to just have the rules will help you guys out a little bit. Alright, so now we're going to repeat. We're going to do one more of each one of these. They throw in a couple negatives, so I'm happy about that. That way we can kind of talk through that and what we do. First, we're going to start off with the 180 degree rotation, and again, this is still counterclockwise, but it doesn't matter. So this is the rule where we leave X and Y in the same place, but we change both the signs. So for X prime, we start off with the point 3, -2. That was my original, but now I have to change the signs. So the 3, since it's positive, becomes negative, and since the 2 was negative, now it becomes positive. So I'm just going to get rid of the negative. Okay. Y prime, again, the 6 and the 1 are going to stay in the same place, and I got to change both of their signs. So the 6 becomes a -6, and the 1 becomes a -1. And then Z prime is still going to have a 5 and 7 in it, but now we got to change the signs. So the 5 becomes a -5, and the -7 becomes a +7. Okay, so we just got rid of that negative on the 7. Okay, so that's the new part. And then after that, I kind of trust that you guys can plot those and graph it. So I'm going to pause again while I do that to save a little bit of time. Okay, so that is what that picture will look like whenever it's finished. And we have the new image all graphed. Okay, so 2 more of these together. they're still going to work the same way, same rules. The next one is 270 degrees counterclockwise. So we are going to flip-flop x and y, and then we change that second number to become a negative or change the sign. So for the first one, C prime, when we flip-flop x and y, becomes 5, -5, and then we have to change the sign on the second number. So since it's negative, now it's going to become positive. D prime, we flip-flop x and y, so we have 7, -1, and again, because that second number has its sign changed, it's going to become a positive 1. E, we're going to flip-flop -3 and 3, so it becomes 3, -3, and we're changing the sign on the second number, so that one becomes positive. So you guys maybe are seeing a little bit of a pattern here. Same thing with F prime, we flip-flop x and y, so it becomes 1, -7, but once again, that second number has to have its sign changed so it becomes positive. Okay, so let me graph this real quick. Alright, so that is what that last one looks like, and now we're going to do the very last example together, and then like I said, I'm going to do the rest of this and I'm still going to post it. They don't really change that much, and I don't want you guys to have to sit through another 30-minute lesson video that you might not watch all the way anyway. Okay, so the next one is already graphed. We're going to do 90 degrees counterclockwise. So we're going to flip-flop x and y again, and then the first number this time is the one that becomes negative or has the opposite sign. Okay, so t starts off as -3, -1, so we're going to make this -1, -3. But again, the first number has to be changed to have the opposite sign. And so since it's negative, it becomes a positive. Alright, and I actually like that arrow that I put above the side that changes, so maybe when you're doing it on your own, that might be a good reminder to help you out of which one gets changed. So U started off as 0, -2, so I'm going to flip-flop that, it becomes -2, 0, and again, that first number has to change its sign, so it's going to become positive. V prime is going to flip-flop the original point, so it's going to become -8, -2. And again, the first number has to change its sign, so it becomes a positive this time. And then W prime, I'm going to flip-flop -5 and -7, so it becomes -7, -5. And again, the first number has to change its sign, so it's going to become positive. And then we're going to graph it. Alright, so that is what our finished picture will look like. So, hey, like I said, make sure that you check this out. The rest of these are going to be filled out and in the folder that you guys are currently working in. So, if you're having any trouble with any of the problems on IXL, definitely use this as a resource. But again, I'm just choosing not to continue because they will follow the exact same set of rules. You just got to be careful with your signs and making sure that you change the correct ones. Alright, so if you guys need anything, as always, I'm available by email, by Remind. You guys have been doing a really nice job of contacting me when you need me. Make sure that you look through the directions so you have all the details about what kind of score you're supposed to get in IXL. Your due dates will be the same as they usually are for your class, so make sure that you double check that in Schoology also. And just make sure that you are also staying up to date on your assignments and you're not getting behind, because I am happy to work with you to get you caught up, but we really don't have that much time left. So make sure that you are not getting really far behind. I know a couple of you guys still need to get caught up, so please make sure that you're doing that and talking to me if you guys need anything. Otherwise, I hope that you guys have a great week. I hope that I hear from you if you need anything, but otherwise, just stay safe, stay healthy, and I will talk to you soon.